Hi guys, thank you for clicking on my video. Please do check out my other videos. And before we start, please do subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be talking about Ice Cube. Ice Cube, the legend that is Ice Cube, and his recent interview with Good Morning Britain. He did this interview because he was coming over to Britain. And within the interview, as you can see, this is available on YouTube on Good Morning Britain, and it is about 14 minutes long. I'm only going to touch upon the part where he talks about Harry and Meghan, because I love Ice Cube, and I think what he says is so insightful, and I'm just so pleased that he's a man of color. He's a man who is just a legend, an icon, who has been there, done that, been through whatever you can think of, and he can speak from a position of experience, credibility, of power, of authority. And as a man of color, I'm so proud of him. So I'm so proud that he was able to just speak out and just tell it as it is, right? We always hear from Harry and Meghan, your truth, speak your truth. Well, he's speaking his truth, okay? So before I get into it, again, the boring stuff, please guys, do subscribe to my channel. Please do like my video. Please do comment and share my video. That will be great and can show some support and just help my channel to grow. So please forgive me if I'm stopping and starting. Obviously, I have to. I can't just sit here and play Good Morning Britain's video. I mean, it's obviously copyright. So, for those of you who don't know, this is Ice Cube. Now, Ice Cube, as I have already said, is an icon of music. I would say he is an icon of music rather than anything else, but he is also an entrepreneur. He has had various awards. He's also a songwriter, an actor. He's also a musician and a rap artist in his own right, but he's most famously known for having a group with Eazy-E's and Dr. Dre, and that group was called NWA. And they basically were just icons of rap music back in the day. And in this interview, they're compared to, they are what the Beatles were to rock and roll, they are to hip hop and rap. So, he has a very, very, very reputable, established, credible reputation and work history and ethic. And he has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as obviously a member of NWA. And this is why it's also quite relevant, actually, this interview, is because NWA came out with the song Straight Out of Compton in 1988. And then also there is a movie called Straight Out of Compton, and I believe Ice Cube's son actually played Ice Cube, which is quite cool. But anyway, so there is a movie called Straight Out of Compton, which is obviously based on the story and the life of the members of NWA. And we know that there was an article when Harry was dating Meghan that said she was straight out of Compton, and that is usually the go-to when people talk about how she suffered racism in the British media, and that's usually the article that people go to. People look at all these headlines, and I've said this before in some of my other videos, that they don't look at the minutiae of the articles, because a lot of the articles, like for example, the ones that were photographed in the Oprah interview, a lot of those journalists came out and were like, hang on a second, A, I wrote this article when she left the royal family, and some were like, B, I wrote this article and the headline seems racist because it was actually referring to somebody who had said something racist, and it was an article that was condemning them. And then this Straight Out of Compton article, and I'll show it up here, and I think it's actually referred to in this interview, but I will show it here. And as you can see, it's actually Daily Mail Los Angeles. So it's I'm just going to generalize here, because obviously this doesn't apply to everyone, but I'm going to generalize. Okay, us British people, what do we know about Compton? Obviously, people from Los Angeles, they know a lot more about Compton, and they know a lot more about the innuendos and the prejudices and the assumptions and the whatever of Compton. So it would seem unusual, in my view, for someone in London, sitting there on their computer and they're like, oh, Meghan is from straight out of Compton. It just doesn't seem, that would make sense. That would be something that they would want to write. So obviously, this is actually Daily Mail Los Angeles, where this article came out of. And unfortunately, the British press and British journalists get a lot of grief, and I think unfairly, because this was clearly written by someone in Los Angeles, in my view. So Ice Cube talks about this article straight out of Compton, and he also goes on to talk about Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family and what impact that has made. And I want to talk on those two issues. So I'm just going to play Ice Cube and what he says about the straight out of Compton article.
I want to get your opinion then, Ice Cube, on an article that was published a few years ago, and it was in relation to Meghan Markle when it was announced that she was dating Prince Harry. Mm-hmm. One newspaper described the Duchess of Sussex as almost straight out of Compton. And there were a lot of people who were angry about that because they believed that the connotations with Compton being a notorious city and describing someone as such, there were sort of racial undertones.
Yeah.
What did you think about it at the time?
People have their opinions. That's fine. But it's some great people that come out of Compton. Some of them are better than the people that come out of Beverly Hills.
I think actually Serena Williams, who is Meghan Markle's friend, comes out of Compton. And also, can we just remind ourselves that the article says almost out of Compton?
So just because somebody say you come straight out of Compton and it has a tone of, you come out the hood, or you come out the ghetto, or you come out, it's great people that come out of those places. So, maybe they were trying to crack a joke, but at the end of the day, I think the joke is on them. Can't let what other people say or think about you affect you and how you think about yourself.
So do you think people had a right to be angry, given that Meghan is a black woman?
I understand it, but I think it was a very off-colored joke. Let's look at the personality of the person who made the joke. Maybe they're, straight out of somewhere else that's not so great.
You've spent, I think, most of your life talking about racism, prejudice, racial inequality, and we've also seen Meghan Markle do the same thing, and I'm sure you'd have seen the Netflix documentaries, you'd have seen the newspaper articles about her and Prince Harry talking about their experience in the royal family.
I mean, that's a reach, okay? It's a reach to say that they have done the same thing. That is a reach. And I think he's going to now kind of put this in its place, because you cannot, like, this guy grew up in what, the 70s, 80s? You can't, in Compton, as a black man, in a low socioeconomic area and upbringing, you cannot compare his experience to racism and how he has spoken up about racism and how he, his experience of racism in his life, his attempts at trying to tackle racism in the United States of America. You cannot compare that to what Meghan Markle and Harry have said about racism. Bearing in mind, can we just say, bearing in mind that everything they've done is monetary or for the benefit of their brand or for the benefit of work or whatever. And they have turned around, or at least Harry has turned around and said, oh, no, it's not racism. It's in fact unconscious bias. So let's put the royal family to one side. And yes, they do talk about racism in the British press, which I am not following. Racism on social media, that's a different story. But I've seen racism on social media towards other members of the royal family, including Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And Meghan Markle is not unique to that, okay? If we look at, the Obamas and the racism that they suffered, Meghan Markle is not special or in any way someone that has my sympathy because she suffered such a vile racism.
Why they've left. How do you feel about the whole controversy around them and the fact that they tend to divide opinions quite a lot?
I think everybody has a right to pursue happiness in any way, shape, or form they believe. So, you know, I can't really make a comment on their experiences, why they did what they did, or why they do what they do. But I think, you know, when you're in the house, you can make more changes to the house than when you're outside of the house. So,
Amen. I'm going to come back to this.
you know, that's kind of my opinion. You know, if they would stuck it out, they might have been able to make some changes.
There are members in the royal family. For example, the Duchess of Kent. She's a senior member who's 90 years old, and she has said that you are one of her favorite rappers of all time.
That's great. I'm a good rapper. You know, it's
I love Duchess of Kent. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yes, girl.
like she got great taste, obviously, especially in rap music, and you know, it's a great thing. Maybe she'll come to the game.
You have starred in so many movies.
Amazing. Duchess of Kent. Whoop, whoop. Oh my God. Let me put a picture of Duchess of Kent up here. Oh, fabulous. Okay, let me go back to the last point now. This is what I'm going to end it with, is this topic, which is that he says, you know, they could have made more change in the house than out. I agree with what he says 100%. Okay, I have said this before. I'm a person of color. I can tell you, as a woman of color, that she, in my opinion, and this is all my opinion and my views, my experiences, and my understanding, if she had stayed within the royal family, and I know that it was hard, okay, but it is hard for everyone in different ways. And she is not special in any way, and she hasn't suffered in a special way in any way. Okay, everyone has suffered in a specific way. I don't even think she suffered the worst, but there we are. And I know it's hard. It probably did impact her mental health. It has impacted everyone's mental health. Prince Charles has had counselling. Harry has had counselling. William has spoken about, you know, his mother and the impact of that. Kate Middleton, or Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has spoken about how hard it was for her after George was born and she was isolated up in Wales. You know, the Queen has apparently attended therapy and counselling. You know, it is hard for everyone. It is not an easy job. I get it. Okay. And also, being the first of anything is also not an easy job. You don't just become the first Black female judge. You don't just become the first Asian prime minister. You don't just become the first female London mayor. You don't just become the first Muslim head teacher. Do you get what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, all of the problems just fall away. All of a sudden, racism just goes away. Sexism just goes away. Misogyny just goes away. It just goes away. You know, prejudice just goes away. And you live quite a cushy and happy life, and we all have changes. That it doesn't happen like that. Okay. When Obama became the first Black president of the United States, it didn't end racial tyranny. It didn't end racial abuse against him or threats to his life against him. You know, he didn't then all of a sudden have a Republican Party just sort of bend to his knee and say, oh, okay, we agree with everything you're going to do now. You're going to make such great change. You know, this guy, this new fresh-faced guy is going to make so much change. Let's just agree with everything he says. They made his life a hell. Okay, they rejected almost everything he wanted to put forward. And the point is that you do it so that the generations after you have an easier ride, okay? Diana did what Diana did so that it was easier for Catherine, so that it was easier for Meghan Markle. You paved the way for the future generations, so that the future generations look at the balcony, look at the history books, and they see a woman of color. And they see a woman of color for generations in that royal family. And then they grow up with a different image of the royal family. They don't see the only woman of color in the royal family bolted after what, 18 months? And part of that was maternity leave. And that does not bode well for future generations of women of color, because future generations of women of color will think, well, damn, that's not for us. Well, I can't do it. I mean, look what happened to her. I mean, oh God, this racist family. And then the whole narrative of the racism part, division and anger, dividing people, that just continues. And then condemning the royal family, it just continues. There isn't any change, because anger just polarizes the two sides even further away. And then there's no conversation in the middle. There's no understanding. It just polarizes it, right? Because that's what Harry and Meghan, in my view, have done with their allegations, and then turning their allegations around to, oh, it's unconscious bias and all this nonsense. It's just caused two sides to just be in conflict. There is no understanding. There is no mutual understanding. They don't hear each other. And so what does that show the next person of color who may have wanted to join the royal family, or may have had an opportunity to join the royal family? They're like, no, thanks. So there, it doesn't grow change then, does it? Because then the only people that will join the royal family are going to be people that are close to the royal family, are going to be other aristocrats or other royals. So then it doesn't breed change. And so it's really, really disappointing. And he is right that if you are within the household, yes, you can create change within the house, because the house is going to have to bend. It's going to have to inevitably change. Might not happen after a year, might not happen after 2 years, but it will happen. Look at Princess Diana. She was around for how many years? What, 17, 15? And she did change the royal family. She has made them more personable and more relatable. And she has impacted the younger generations of William and Harry and Catherine, and how they are as royals. And even someone like Sophie Wessex and how she is as a royal. So the change might not happen after a year or 2 years. I mean, God knows how hard it was for Princess Diana, a year or 2 years. How hard it was for Fergie, a year or 2 years in. How hard it was for the Duke of Edinburgh, a year or 2 years in. How hard it was for Catherine, a year or 2 years in. Come on. The change takes time. What did she expect? Did she expect to just turn up and everyone would just fall in love with her, and everyone would just change and bend to her will, and she's then accredited as this icon of history, this Princess Diana 4.0 that has come in and just transformed the royal family and get all kinds of awards and accolades? I don't think so, hun. It doesn't work like that. And it is a huge shame. You were given such a massive platform, such a massive opportunity, and you failed. And my view is that the fact that you couldn't hack it and you were like, bounce out, bye, I'm going to take what I have and I'm going to go. And frankly, in my view, use the royal family. Now they've given you this platform where you're basically the most famous woman in the world. And you have, hundreds of millions of dollars as your future revenue because of the royal family. So my view is that she never actually intended to stay in the royal family, and that she just wanted this platform. But you had this opportunity, and the fact that you couldn't hack it, or that you weren't ever going to stay in the royal family, was never your intention. You wanted this idyllic Montecito, Malibu life in LA, which you had never attained yourself prior to marrying Harry. My view is that all of this other nonsense, these excuses, oh, it's institutional racism, it's structural racism, oh, the British people are racist, Brexit, oh, colonialism, oh, slavery, oh, actually, it's unconscious bias. All this nonsense, in my view, is used as a smokescreen to justify why she has failed, to justify that people didn't like her, that they don't want her, that she wasn't loved, that she wasn't a success, that she wasn't a hard worker, and she wasn't a servant of the people, and she essentially doesn't deserve the role and the position, doesn't deserve to be Duchess, she doesn't deserve this platform. And in order to put a smokescreen in front of our eyes so that no one would say anything or think anything differently, you raise something so seriously like racism. And that was the easiest card that she could have played. I mean, they know that as soon as she joined into that royal family, they know that everyone is looking at this white family, this history of empire. They're looking at you. You've got this one mixed race girl in there, and everyone is looking at you knowing, right, she's about to play this race card. It was the easiest card that she could have played. And she bounced and left all of us with the fallout. And she bounced living in her luxurious Beverly Hills mansion, the biggest one on the block, that was paid for by Tyler Perry, paid for security, paid for the private jet, had a personal private beach. And that's where she was in COVID, right? With her family, her husband at home, living her life with her dogs on her private beach, in somebody else's house with paid security and a paid private jet. And we were all sitting here moaning and complaining about how racist Britain was and how racist our royal family is, when actually it's probably one of the least racist places in at least Europe, if not the world. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. So Ice Cube, thank you, Ice Cube, for your words, and thank you, Duchess of Kent, for a laugh. So guys, please do subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know if you agree with anything I've said. If I've not, if I'm out of pocket, let me know. It's my opinion. You can share yours, I can share mine. And have a great day, everyone. Take care. Bye.